A typical American family now spends over $1,000 more per year on groceries than they did just 3 years ago. But this isn't a temporary spike. For the first time in half a century, we're witnessing a fundamental structural reset in the cost of food. The era of cheap, abundant groceries is over, and the receipt in your hand tells a story of climate chaos, geopolitical conflict, and broken supply chains. This price shock is unprecedented in its breadth and persistence. According to the USDA, food at home prices surged over 25% from 2020 to 2024, with staples like eggs, bread, and beef seeing increases of 30%, 40%, even 50%. The frightening truth is that these aren't just post-pandemic adjustments. They represent permanent changes to the very foundations of our global food system. The forces driving them are powerful, interconnected, and show no signs of reversing. At the heart of the crisis is climate change, no longer a future threat, but a present-day production cost. In 2022, a historic drought in the U.S. Midwest withered corn and soybean yields. Simultaneously, record heat waves in Europe devastated olive crops and wheat fields. In Asia, unprecedented floods submerged rice paddies. These aren't isolated events. They are the new normal. When crop yields fall by 10 to 20% globally, the price doesn't just rise 10 to 20%. Because demand for food is inelastic, people must eat, the price can skyrocket. Climate volatility is now a permanent tax on every meal. To grow those diminished crops, farmers need fertilizer. And here, geopolitics strikes the food supply. Russia and Belarus are two of the world's largest producers of potash and nitrogen-based fertilizers. The war in Ukraine and subsequent sanctions didn't just disrupt grain. They shattered the fertilizer market, sending prices up 300% at one point. Natural gas, the primary feedstock for nitrogen fertilizer, also saw European prices explode. These costs are baked into the next growing season. Even if geopolitics calm, the restructuring of global energy and fertilizer trade means higher baseline costs are here to stay. Meanwhile, our protein supply is under biological siege. The deadliest avian influenza outbreak in history has wiped out tens of millions of egg-laying hens and turkeys in the U.S. alone since 2022, causing egg prices to double. In China, African swine fever has periodically decimated hog herds for years, creating global pork price waves. These diseases spread rapidly in the concentrated animal feeding operations that supply most of our meat. Rebuilding flocks and herds is slow and expensive, and the threat of recurrence means producers build risk premiums into prices permanently. Once food is produced, it passes through a distribution bottleneck with immense pricing power, the grocery oligopoly. In the U.S., just 5 companies, Walmart, Kroger, Albertsons, Ahold Delhaize, and Costco, control nearly 60% of the grocery market. This concentration gives them significant power over suppliers and, critics argue, allows them to maintain higher margins even during inflationary periods. While they compete, the lack of a true price war in essentials means the cost increases from the farm are passed directly to you, often with an additional markup for the retailer. Then there's the silent price hike, shrinkflation. The chocolate bar that was 4 ounces is now 3.5. The yogurt container shrinks from 6 to 5.3 ounces. The cereal box gets thinner. The unit price per ounce creeps up, often while the package price stays the same or even rises. This is a deliberate strategy by food manufacturers to maintain profit margins without displaying a shocking sticker price. It's a psychological trick that makes inflation less visible but no less real, eroding your purchasing power by stealth. Picking, packing, and processing food remains stubbornly labor-intensive. While automation has transformed other industries, the delicate task of harvesting fruits, vegetables, and meat resists full mechanization. This means the food sector is acutely sensitive to labor costs. With persistent wage growth and labor shortages in the post-pandemic world, the cost of human hands at every stage of the supply chain, from farm workers to truck loaders to supermarket cashiers, is permanently higher. This labor cost is embedded in every product on the shelf. Getting food from fields and factories to your local store is its own economic nightmare. The trucking industry, which moves 70% of U.S. freight, faces a chronic driver shortage and volatile diesel fuel prices. In 2022, diesel hit record highs, adding hundreds of dollars to the cost of every cross-country shipment. Port congestion, container shortages, and rising shipping insurance due to geopolitical risks add more layers of cost. The just-in-time supply chain that kept prices low is being replaced by a more expensive, resilient just-in-case model, with higher inventory and logistics costs passed to consumers. Finally, the fundamental equation of global demand is shifting. As hundreds of millions in China, India, and Southeast Asia join the middle class, their diets shift toward more resource-intensive foods, more meat, dairy, and processed items. It takes roughly 6 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of beef. This massive increase in demand for feed grains and protein competes directly with the existing global supply, pushing prices upward for everyone. This isn't a bubble. It's a permanent step change in global consumption patterns. The conclusion is inescapable. The grocery price shock of the 2020s is not a temporary blip like the oil shocks of the 1970s. It is the symptom of a global food system hitting multiple structural limits at once: climatic, geopolitical, biological, and logistical. While prices may stabilize or even dip slightly, the baseline has been permanently reset higher. For households, this means budgeting for food as a larger, non-negotiable expense. For investors, it signals enduring value in agricultural and logistics infrastructure. For society, it's a stark warning about the fragility of our most essential system. The cheap food era was a historical anomaly. Welcome to the new, more expensive reality.